Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We're going to open the meeting with a silent meditation and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we first have public comment on agenda items. You'll have an opportunity as each item comes up, but seeing no one come forward, we'll close out the agenda items, public comment portion. Mr. Pizzo, is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Knowles. I received correspondence from Stan Kelton. He is the attorney representing the applicant on agenda item number 8, final land development for Faith Unity. He advised me that there are still a few outstanding informational items that the traffic engineer is working on with him as to traffic counts and similar information needed for the impact fee and for the overall traffic impact study. He's therefore asked if council would continue the application scheduled for the hearing scheduled for this evening to a date certain of April 22nd. That would be council's second meeting in April. His notices have already been sent, so he's asked for the tabling to a date certain. He's also granted the township an extension of time under the municipality's planning code for the township's consideration of their application. So if council is of a mind, it would be okay to table this forward to a date certain of April 22nd.
Okay, do we have a motion for number 8, Faith Unity, final land development plan to be
So
tabled?
moved.
Second.
Okay, and that's still April 22nd, just to clarify.
April.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay.
April what?
That's the only item of which I'm aware, Mr. Knowles, that would be coming off of this evening's agenda.
April what?
April 22nd?
22nd is the second meeting in April. Okay, thank you. Okay, approval of council minutes for a meeting dated February 25th, 2019. Ron, do you have any changes or? Okay, good. Anybody else have any changes to the minutes? If not, you can make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from council meeting February 25th, 2019 as presented.
Okay. We have a first and a second, and Mr. Polari actually cut it in there. Got first, okay, so first and a second to accept the minutes, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, it's good. Moving right along tonight. Okay, signing of a record plan for Bud Silcox. That's the first time we ever had minutes accepted, I think.
There you go.
But 3674 Grandview Avenue. Ron, do you have this ready to be signed?
Yes, I'm ready for this. This is a plan you approved on January 28th, 2019, with the following exceptions. Concrete monuments have been indicated on the plans. The curve information required for Overland Road and Grandview Avenue has been provided, and the front yard dimensions for Lot 1 have been corrected. We have signed the plans and recommend council does the same, so that they may be recorded.
Okay, so we need 3 council people to
Yes,
stay
right
afterwards
here.
and sign. Okay, so is there a motion to accept
So moved.
the signing? Okay, we have a first and a second. I don't know who came in second. We'll give Ed time in this one.
Eddie.
Be even, since we're being so nice tonight, we're gonna split it up. Record plan, Bud Silcox is, all in favor is first. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, so we're good. Okay, number 5 on the agenda, consideration of a resolution authorizing the upgrading of existing traffic signal to install ADA compliance pedestrian facilities. Is Mr. Pizzo, Ron Gantz, or Lauren handling this?
Yes, the resolution is one that you've seen before, as is the application for traffic signal approval. In this case, because it is a township signal on a PennDOT highway, it requires the application to PennDOT for the modifications. The modifications are the installation of ADA-compliant pedestrian facilities at the intersection of Galloway Road and Richelieu Road. This installation is in concert with the Faith Unity land development application. As some of you may recall, and the two councilmen I don't believe were on the board at the time, Faith Unity was given preliminary land development approval. So they are moving forward with the various items that they have to do pursuant to preliminary land development. One of those, of course, is to obtain their PennDOT approvals. The installation of these ADA facilities at this intersection is part of what PennDOT is requiring of them, and therefore, in order to effectuate it, because again, it's our intersection on a PennDOT highway, the township and PennDOT are both involved in this. So this is normal. This is PennDOT's standard form for application. This is the township's normal form of resolution. All of the costs associated with this would be paid by the applicant, Faith Unity, as it is associated with their land development approval. The resolution is in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening, and all that does is simply authorize the Director of Administration to sign the necessary documents on behalf of the township.
Okay.
Do we know why it's only for the north leg of Galloway and the west leg of Richelieu Road? So it looks like it's only on two sides of the intersection, not addressing the southeast corner, which is where the community park is.
Insofar as the Faith Unity project is concerned, I assume that those are the only two portions of the intersection that PennDOT has determined are affected by their project.
This is
That's all I
what
can
Faith
tell you.
Unity's paying for.
This has been reviewed by the township traffic engineer as well. So everything that's being asked for approval this evening has been signed off on by the township traffic engineer and by PennDOT. As to why only those two legs of the four-sided intersection, I don't know. There is improvement scheduled to take place on the corner near Thunder Hollow. Perhaps that will come when that land development comes through the township for approval.
I'm assuming this is contingent on the approval of that development, that plan for Faith Unity?
Certainly, they're not going to construct this if they're not.
I mean, would it make sense then to
Constructing their-
put this off to the April meeting too as well then?
Well-
To decide on this as well as the Faith Unity project at that time?
The idea here is, and again, council can do whatever council wishes. The idea, of course, is for them to get the various approvals in place and to get as much moving as possible during the preliminary phase as is required of them. So having the traffic plans, the HOP, and the application reviewed and approved by PennDOT is part of what they're required to do during preliminary phase. If you want to hold this off for
No, I think so. I don't want
weeks-
to stall Faith Unity any more than we have to, because they've been dragged out enough. But, if they end up not doing it, then they just don't do it. I mean, what's the-
We're not approving
doesn't
it, we're just
cost us.
approving the authorization to go
Yeah.
ahead. So we're not
You are
approving it.
authorizing the submission of this application so that they could
So
do
we're
the
just-
work if and when they
If we don't
build.
approve it.
Four of us can't speak at once,
Well,
gentlemen.
then we wasted a vote, that's all,
Yeah.
Wasted 5 minutes. Okay, so any other questions in reference to this? Okay, is there a motion to
Make a
approve?
motion, we approve as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
against? Okay, that's good. Okay. Number 6, land development extension agreement for Carmen Morelli, Frank Morelli, and Kathleen Morelli, 876 Mill Road. Does anybody have that?
Certainly. As council is often asked to do, this would be an extension of an existing land development agreement.
Thanks,
It's an
Mr.
agreement as the agenda and as you see in your packets between Carmen Frank and Kathleen Morelli and the township. The original development agreement was signed on February 12, 2018. This is for property located at 876 Mill Road. They're asking for the development agreement to be extended to a date of May 1st, 2019. If council is of a mind to do so, as we often ask you to do, please give such authorization contingent upon an audit of the remaining public improvements escrow by the Township Finance Department and the Township Engineer to make sure that sufficient funds remain for the completion of the public improvements as contemplated by the agreement.
So they're ready to finish this project, just need a few months, basically, is that right?
That's how it appears to me, sir, yes.
Do you know why there's no original completion listed on this?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
What are you looking for?
What the original date they were
It's
supposed to
blank.
be.
Oh,
complete. It's
I'm
yeah.
not-
assuming it was within 1 year of the.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's February 12th, what's that?
So
I
they're
would
already
assume
late,
that-
now we're just gonna give them
I
an
would assume it was
extension.
sometime between February and May of 2019.
Yeah, probably February.
And typically, the development agreements are written for the completions, or for the improvements to be completed within a one-year time. Sometimes, depending on the size and scope of the project, the township will agree to a two-year period, but 1 year would be the norm.
Yeah, this is 3 months.
And inasmuch as they're asking for an extension to May 19, and the agreement was dated in 18, I think it's safe to say this was probably a one-year agreement.
Do we know what's remaining on this? What land development?
I have
work is-
Mr. Neer on here for any questions regarding this project.
There it is.
So at the Mill Road property, there are some paving issues for ADA that we have to get cleaned up, as well as some stabilization and some minor grading work. So there's still money in escrow for the parking lot that we have, as well as stabilization. So we have more than enough money to complete the job if need be.
Okay. And then they are expected to complete by May 1st?
Yeah, they were waiting until weather breaks until they can get in there and do everything they need to do for grading work.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. The weather would affect paving. and
Can't
such,
pay
yeah.
in the winter.
Okay, so is there any other questions?
Yeah, just one. Mr. Paz, is there any concern about that notary date?
No.
Okay, that's the person that was signing it. This signature's not. Started messing up.
The notary's commission is still good. Obviously, the person who signed it crossed out the date and then wrote the year above on top. I'm satisfied that, again, the people who signed it are the people who signed it.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the
I'll make a
extension?
motion that we accept
Extension.
the extension for Carmen Morelli, Frank Morelli, and Kathleen Morelli, 876 Mill Road 2-32-2 as presented.
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Technesian. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, good. Okay, number 7, consideration of land development extension agreement for Cal Atlantic Group, 2670 Galway Road.
Yes, everything that I just said about the Morelli Land Development Extension Agreement would apply to the Cal Atlantic Extension Agreement, except for the fact that the original agreement was dated February 9, 2018. The property in question is at 2670 Galloway Road, and they are asking for the agreement to be extended to a date of March 11, 2020. Mr. Neron can update you as to the status of the improvements.
Okay, my only question, first of all, Joe, would be that I believe that Lennar Group has brought out Cal Atlantic Group. Is that legally okay to extend with Cal Atlantic because they purchased? I mean, I believe Lennar is actually handling the project now.
I am assuming that since the agreement was submitted on February 11 by Cal Atlantic, that Cal Atlantic still exists and has some ownership interest.
It says
in the property.
developer, U.S. Home Corporation, DBA Lenore Homes.
Doing business as.
Yeah,
Cal Atlantic's owned by Lenore Homes.
okay, they're owned by them.
Yes.
Okay, so they're still in existence, that's what I
Yes.
wanted to ask.
Cal Atlantic, Lenore bought them.
Yeah, okay. You want to give us an update on their progress?
Yeah, so basically, the subbase of the road is in. We had some issues with that before the winter hit. So the curbing's in, and we're waiting on building construction. So,
And the curbing they have in there is the cobblestone kind, or is it?
yes.
Yeah, okay. And are they, all the lots?
All the
designed
lots, I
out?
believe, are, the building pads are all set.
Yeah,
And the Pico's, I believe, in there currently doing the underground utilities, but there
Okay.
hasn't been that much activity at all.
okay.
And this is a 35 homes or so?
Correct.
32, I think.
32?
It's 32 or
I think
35.
32.
Do you believe they're going to be able to finish this in the one-year period with everything they have to do?
As far as I was told, they were supposed to start construction in December on these houses. Now, I don't get involved with the actual building department, but from their land development department, they thought that they were going to be starting as early as November. That's why he was trying to get the roads completed at that time. Now, I think they're behind schedule or something, or they're rescheduling their construction, but I don't really know or have an answer for you on that.
Okay, but I doubt they're going to be finished. They're not
I
going to
don't
be
think
finished.
so.
They're not going to be finished.
They would have
but-
to come in again
But
for an
we'll be able
extension.
to hold their feet to the fire in 2020 and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do, so.
We've had a lot of rain, so I'm
Yeah.
sure that held up the project. a lot,
Correct.
because we're starting from ground up, so.
I mean, I believe they have 8 or 10 under agreement, so I mean, they're not going to finish 30.
I heard they do have a lot of sales.
Yeah, but they're not going to finish 32 houses.
Do you know why they were running at least a year behind?
I do not.
It's a significant delay in the project.
Yeah, they didn't start, I'm going to say it was summertime. I don't recall exactly
They
which
started
month.
late?
Yeah, I'm not sure when they came in. I don't know if it was an issue with Lennar and Cal Atlantic or.
Do you know,
what
did
the
they get their
issues-
permits in a timely fashion from the township?
Pardon me?
The permits, building permits and whatnot?
I don't even know if they've even applied for the actual building permits. I know they did apply for a sales trailer, and then that got canceled because of how many sales they had. So they
Okay.
didn't decide to put that in there for a sales trailer
Got
just
it.
because of that case.
Yeah, they're working out of Waterside, I think.
I think this originally was DeLuca's projects and sold it to Cal
They
Atlantic.
sold- oh, okay,
So
got
it.
there was time there, and then Cal Atlantic was bought out by
By Lennar.
Lennar, so you have time periods in there, is
Okay.
what I think the time.
That would
You're
be
right,
makes sense.
feasible.
And Lennar bought Waterside, so then they started using the Waterside site as their sales center. But when, this land agreement, just to clarify for people, I mean, does this, when we do a year, this means the project's completely done, or your phase is done?
No, it'd be the
Completely.
entire
Yeah,
project
so there was
completely done.
no chance that this was gonna be done in a year.
That's-
I mean, that's
that's
why.
why I
They're
was
only a year,
asking.
we just use this to, they're never done that quick. You have to keep extending them. You know, and we just kind of make sure that the money's there and that they're doing everything they're supposed to do and not giving us a, difficulty or having potential problems. Okay, so they're only asking for March 11, 2020. We're going to address this again, I would think. Is there any other questions?
No, I just have a comment. I like giving, if we're gonna give her an extension 1 year, not giving them 2, because it just gives them more time
Yep.
to drag their feet, and we can't hold their feet to the fire, so I think the one is a good extension.
I agree.
Okay, so is there a motion to accept this extension?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, that's good. Okay,
Okay.
and number 8 on the agenda, as we said, was moved to a date certain of April 22nd for Faith Unity. Okay, number 9, minor land development, 4767 Street Road, monument display use with accessory features, zoning classification, business professional. This is up across from 4800 Street Road,
ASI.
complex, office complex there. Okay, who has this, Mr. Gantz or Mr. Pizzo?
Well, I see Mr. Gundlach is here representing the
Okay, good.
applicant.
Mr. Gundlach's
Just
here.
as,
Okay, good,
just
yeah.
as a little bit of history and a reminder for council, this site and this application were the subject of a conditional use hearing before the council back on October 24 of 2016. At that point in time, conditional use approval for the proposed dog park and monument sign project was granted by the township. That approval was conditioned upon them applying for and obtaining minor land development approval for the dog park. So that brings them here this evening. And with that, with your approval, Mr. Knowles, I'll turn it over
Okay, yeah.
to Mr. Gunlock.
Mr. Gunlock, how are you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. The solicitor's comment was accurate. Prior conditional use approval was granted. An application has been made for minor land development approval and lot consolidation approval. Plans have been submitted, and here with me tonight is Ari Christakis and Tim Earl from Catalyst Outdoor Advertising. Catalyst is an entity related to the applicant, and we are here tonight to request the grant of final land development approval subject to the township engineer letter with 2 items of clarification. Before we get into that, we have the ability through the media to put on a presentation, if you like, a brief overview of the project. I think Ari's going to run you through that. We're going to connect that to the screen, Ari? Yep. Yeah,
And
sure.
Mr. Gunlock, while he's setting that up, the notices to adjacent property owners of this evening's hearing, do you have a copy of that for me to?
Yes, I
review?
do. We can that up.
Thank you.
Then after the presentation, if there's going to be any expert witnesses, we can have them sworn in.
Sure, thank you. Sorry, why don't you give council an overview of the project? I know this was discussed at the conditional use hearing, but it's been a little bit of time, so we'll refresh your memory and answer any questions you have about it.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Ari Christakis. I'm here for Catalyst Experiential. Sure. First name is A-R-I. Last name is on my card. It's a lot easier.
It's all Greek to me.
All right. I'm going to point at the back so that the board can see. This is an aerial view of the property. This is Street Road, south plan view. And as you sort of pan down, Pete, you'll see that we've got 2 monuments here. The displays are integrated into the faces of these. This is the broken dog biscuit concept that you might recall from the conditional use approval. We've also included planter boxes here that are sort of akin to the crumbs that would come off of a broken dog biscuit. We have entryway here with a long driveway that's designed to accommodate queuing off of Street Road. We have parking in the front with a gated access way for the safety of the dogs. This is gates on both sides so that dogs are properly leashed before they go out into the parking lot and can't just bolt out of the door. Behind that, we have a structure which houses several self-serve dog wash stations and also houses restrooms and an attendant station for the attendant who is managing the property during the open hours. To the left here, you see a small dog area. This is fenced off for the safety of the smaller dogs. We located it at the front so that people didn't have to walk all the way to the back of the parcel to access it. To the right here, you see a swimming area. That pool is roughly twice the size of a residential swimming pool. It has beach access. Both the beach access and the filtration system are specifically designed for dogs to be able to play in the water. To the rear of the property here, we have an agility area that dogs can use with their owners. Back right, we have additional play items. In the center, we have a shaded sitting area that's sun protected. I should note that both this area and several of the other amenities that you see actually have photovoltaic solar energy built into the roofs of the buildings or the structures in order to capture some sunlight and either put it back into the grid or use on the site itself. At the rear, based on the feedback that we received during the conditional use proceedings, we included a vegetation buffer that was at the request of the residents who live to the rear of the parcel. The surface itself, which is one of the items that has been raised as an item relative to the township engineer's letter, is a special product called canine grass. It's designed specifically for dog parks. It's basically a mat that is an open mesh weave. It's not like you might have seen with other synthetic surfaces where there's infill material. There's no little black pebbles or, ground up tires that are in there. It's designed to flow freely so that urine can pass through down into the subsurface and solid waste is picked up at the top and can just be hosed off. So it actually performs very much like grass does. It absorbs water. And we understand that the township engineer has raised that as an issue of whether it's impervious or not. We believe that it actually is not an impervious surface and that this plan as submitted conforms to the zoning ordinance. If that turns out not to be the case, we've requested a determination from the zoning officer to make a finding as to whether this is an impervious surface or not. If it is not an impervious surface under your zoning ordinance, we will eliminate 8% of that surface in order to make it a pervious surface.
What was that percentage?
8%. If this is treated as an impervious surface, we're at 68%. The underlying zoning district permits 60% impervious surface. We believe that because water does not get trapped on the surface and doesn't get redirected, it basically passes through the upper surface, it is a pervious surface. Obviously, the stormwater system has to be designed to appropriate standards and approved. That's a separate matter. Just as far as the zoning ordinance is concerned, it looks like grass, it acts like grass, we ought to treat it as grass. That's our position.
Mr. Diaz, do you have any input on that?
Yes, I do. I work with their engineer on this project, and their engineer informed me that DEP informed him that it was considered impervious. DEP issued that order. So I work along with them designing to that standard.
So there are two issues here. One is how you treat the water that's falling on it for stormwater management purposes, and we have no objection to that. We have to treat the stormwater and manage its discharge properly. There's no question. As far as the zoning ordinance is concerned, there are two reasons you include an impervious coverage calculation or a maximum metric. One is for aesthetics. The other is to make sure that you don't end up with big parking lots full of ponding water, right? So from our perspective, and again, this is just, it's a question for the zoning officer. We think that this is a pervious surface. And if the zoning officer should decide differently and not see it our way, we do have a plan to adjust these plans to conform to the zoning ordinance.
If the DEP sees it as impervious, we have to treat it as impervious.
Sure, I would accept a letter from DEP changing their opinion, but as of right now, we're
Okay,
based
so let's
on
consider
DEP.
what is your title again, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I'm the Vice President of Development for Catalyst
So
Experience.
he doesn't need to be, he doesn't need to be sworn in.
Why wouldn't you just go back to zoning and ask for a variance?
Well, we think that the first step in the process is to ask for the determination because we don't actually have a firm determination from the zoning officer yet. But with respect, PICO's determination about what your zoning ordinance says isn't really lawful. Your zoning
I said the
officer is the
DEP,
first.
you said the Department of Environmental Protection.
I'm sorry, excuse me, DEP, they also are not the final arbiters of what your zoning ordinance says. That's your zoning officer under the MPC.
He just told you that
He worked with the.
he worked with your company and the DEP, and they are saying it is.
Right. My point is that for engineering purposes, as far as DEP is concerned, and as far as the township engineer, and even our engineer is concerned, we have to treat that surface as impervious. The sole question is your zoning ordinance, and whether the impervious coverage limitation in the zoning ordinance is really affected by having this surface present.
But you understand, we go on the advice of our professionals.
Absolutely, I totally understand.
Keep
And
going and saying the same thing. You're going against what our professional just said. Doesn't bode well.
But
I
Ron,
understand.
Couldn't he get a waiver from our zoning board to say that he can have more?
It's not a zoning board issue.
No.
It's been an issue brought up by the people that manage and control the stormwater management in the state.
No, but
They
if
gave
it's,
him the determination that it was considered impervious.
Okay, so you.
Yeah, but I thought they
so-
said they were going to treat that as impervious regarding the stormwater management. Did I not hear that right?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
If we
I
make,
did hear it right.
yeah, if we make.
Oh, if they treat it as
Yeah,
impervious,
they're
they're
treating
fine.
their stormwater management as it is impervious, but they're thinking it is pervious, therefore they should have the extra 8% of that
Right, but they're,
surface
They're gonna
area
put grass
to be
in
allowed.
there.
That's what I heard.
right, but they're not going to.
as a procedural matter, if the zoning officer should say, nope, that's an impervious surface, then we would be in a position to go to your zoning hearing board, or simply amend the plans, because then we would have a determination.
Go ahead,
Correct.
go ahead. You're going to have to amend the plans because
or go for a variance
Well, go for a
he's
variance.
from the zoning. It's
Well,
one of the
We
two.
can't get a zoning variance
He
from a
said you can't.
DEP requirement.
No, if it is treated as impervious surface, then he's got 68% impervious surface on his plans.
Not zoning.
He needs
Right.
either a
Yeah,
zoning
not zoning.
variance or
Right.
he needs to
Right,
revise
not
it.
Get
zoning,
the
whether
variance from that
determined.
requirement.
Yeah, the
Right,
requirement,
just-
right.
yeah.
But DEP is saying it is, and it's above what our ordinance allows, so they really have to consider
Yeah,
They gotta do one of the two.
Yeah, they
Either
can go
for
to zoning
variance
and
or
get it.
revise the plans.
Get the percentage changed, accepted for this. Okay, go ahead.
That's right. The other two waivers, which I'll let Mr. Gunlock speak to in more detail, have to do with site trees, street trees, and sidewalk. So let's start with the easy one first. Site trees is actually a partial waiver that we're requesting, simply because we've got this rear buffer. It's not appropriate for us to plant additional trees underneath this canine grass surface. One of two things will happen. Either the canine grass surface, as I said, is very absorbent. It lets water pass through it. We'll either end up drowning the tree, or the tree will survive and cause the surface to heave, creating a trip hazard. Just with the artificial surface, it doesn't make sense to plant replacement trees on the site. As far as street trees, Pete, if you could come back out to the street view. A key component to the Monument Overlay District is the integration of the visual communication technology at street level. Including street trees along Street Road would run counter to that because it would obscure the displays. So that's why we're asking for a waiver from the street trees provision as well.
Why couldn't you put the street trees behind the broken bones parallel to the parking slots there? It wouldn't affect anything.
So
Yeah, right now.
I'm not certain that they would qualify as street trees at that point because they would be pretty far removed from the right-of-way. The right-of-way line actually is right along this edge of the property.
But then you have other trees.
But you would have additional site trees.
Right, site trees also, you're asking for a waiver for that, are you not?
That's true. And to the extent that that was a requirement, we could probably plant trees.
And then to the left, too, you could put some more in there, too, I guess, right?
I believe that this is tucked more or less right at the property line. This additional area here is just
Right.
shown so that there's
Okay.
the space next door.
But I'm saying aesthetically, I mean, it's a beautiful plan, but aesthetically, that would just add to it, I think.
Sure. I believe that there probably is an opportunity to plant a handful of trees behind these. It may come to pass that that's possible. The final waiver that we're requesting is to install sidewalk. I'm not sure why it's not shown on this rendering. There is sidewalk proposed in our plan here to the east side. To the west side, because of the shape of the right, yes, I'm sorry. Because of the shape of the right-of-way to the east, we have not included sidewalk to that side. It would also not go to any other sidewalk. It would be kind of a sidewalk to nowhere. It might look odd. So those are the waivers that we're requesting tonight.
And Ron, if they got a waiver for sidewalks, would they have to pay in lieu of sidewalk? And then also, do you agree that they would go to nowhere and wouldn't be suitable there?
Right now, that's true.
Yeah, right now,
Unless the
yeah.
next property develops.
Right.
But they're gonna pay in lieu of, so we'll have that money.
We'll have the money, yeah.
Plus any trees they don't put in, they'll also
Yeah, you gotta pay for the
pay
tree.
for those.
What's the difference in the width on the east side and the west side?
You know, I'd have to ask our engineer, Anthony Gibbons, here tonight. He can testify or provide that information.
There's an approximate, Anthony John Hiblin.
Joe, Mr. Pye, do we have to swear him in if he's an engineer, or?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, can you be sworn in if you're an expert?
I do. So the question is the space between the curb and the right-of-way line?
When I had read the presentation, what I had gotten is that you were saying it's not wide enough to put sidewalks on the west side of the plan.
The space between the right-of-way line and the curb is approximately 7 to 8 feet. So there'd be a 2-foot grass strip, 5-foot sidewalk. But again, the point was that there's nothing on that side of the track to connect to.
Well, there's got to be something.
We only require 4 foot.
Okay, 4 foot. So that would,
Just so for my understanding, the reason why you're putting the sidewalk on this side is because there's a neighboring property that has a sidewalk, is that correct?
with a sidewalk continuing down
So when we
Street Road.
approved that point, that sidewalk for that neighboring property, well, you could certainly say that that sidewalk really went nowhere, right? Because you essentially did not have sidewalks on your property
Well,
at
it
that
went
point.
somewhere on the other side, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the
But
other
again,
side of us is
with the-
developed as well. It's
Right.
also
at
developed.
some
We were
point-
not developed.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, we have to look at reducing the amount of times that we're waiving sidewalks. Certainly for safety reasons, I think it's important that we try to put in sidewalks as much as possible.
So here's the question, is it physically possible to put a sidewalk in the
Exactly.
entire width of the property?
That's the problem.
It would be physically possible.
Okay, it is physically
Okay.
possible.
That's good, then we can do
All right,
it.
so we can do it.
Sometimes they're concerned, well, I understand we need sidewalks, but sometimes they're concerned that it encourages people to walk along Street Road to nowhere.
Exactly.
And then they end up walking along Street Road where there is no sidewalks, and it ends up being a problem. That's all I'm saying. But,
I
So they walk up to the dog park and walk
yeah,
around
no,
in circles?
yeah,
then?
they can go back. No, they can walk back. They can walk back to the corner. But that's okay. We want sidewalks, that's fine.
Okay.
It
I would
doesn't
think
matter
that-
whether you're paying for them or putting them in, really, right?
Right.
Yeah, so,
I would think we would want pedestrian access to the dog park,
yeah.
Right.
I think you would, yeah.
Exactly.
and the community would appreciate that.
Yeah.
So the consensus of the board is to,
Go ahead and put the sidewalk.
sidewalks, will withdraw that request for that waiver, correct?
Okay.
Aaron?
Yes.
Yes, thanks. And as far as the trees go, in response to your request, yes, we will agree to take some street trees and move them back behind the sign and in front of the curb at the beginning of the parking lot, correct?
Correct.
You work together with our engineer to make sure that where
Yeah.
they're going. is
Yes.
right.
Of course, with
And then-
one provision, to the extent that we're not
You
able,
gotta speak into the.
I'm sorry, to the extent that we're not able to actually plant the trees for whatever reason, utility interference or the parking area, we would pay a fee in lieu.
Right. And then work it out, and, you know, you'll get credit for the ones you plant, and you don't get credit for
Okay.
the ones.
How far off of the site tree requirement are you with this plan?
Plant bonsai trees.
The site tree requirement, well, in terms of the numbers, we would comply with because we've consolidated them in the back. We haven't spread them, though, throughout the
So
site.
it's just the spreading
Yeah,
of the.
correct, Anthony? It's the spreading of them, given the material. But in terms of the numbers, we can certainly submit to the township engineer confirming compliance with the number. Again, if we're short on the number, we'll provide the fee in lieu.
Okay.
You work together with our engineer.
Yes.
Now, whatever, this is from memory, so it's a little dangerous here because it was a while ago. But one of the questions from the neighbors was the height of the fence, because certainly, no joke aside, they don't want dogs jumping out of the park, you know what I mean? So has the fencing been studied, or do you know that your fences are high? You don't want them too high where it becomes a barricade, but you don't want them too low that dogs can jump and take off, you know, I would think,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm told that we had agreed to an 8-foot fence.
Okay, yeah, it seems
Which
good,
would
yeah.
be too high for a dog.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because before it was lower, and we were arguing about, I remember we were arguing about the size of it. So 8 foot seems perfectly reasonable. I don't think most dogs could jump that.
Mr. President, there was also a mention of an access gate for the people that live to the rear, and that has been provided.
That's been provided too, and then they put the extra planting in the wall in the back too, which looks good.
But there's an access gate in the back, but you don't have that similar queue entrance?
I think that the term of our conditional use was that we would install such an access if requested by the township. But I don't believe that there's actually been a formal request for it. So we remain open to installing it. We accept that condition of the conditional use. But I don't think that that's been requested, so our plan doesn't reflect it.
If you put a gate back there, would that allow you to have the same precautionary
They'd have to do a double gate.
access?
They'd have to do a double gate.
So you don't have a kid
No,
just
not for
opening the
cars,
door
it's for
and...
pedestrians to walk.
The double gate is for the dogs, so that as you open one, they don't all run right out
That's
into
in
the
the
street.
front.
That's in the front.
They would have to do the same thing in the rear, correct?
That's correct, if there was going to be an opening at the rear.
Yeah, I can't remember, some of the neighbors were here before, but some people thought maybe that would allow people to walk through their property to get to the park, right? Is there a public access to get to the back gate?
Anthony, why don't you explain how you get to that gate?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to, I don't put a gate and promote people to walk through people's yards with their dogs.
In the rear of the property, along that fence line with the shrubs and trees, the gate would appear to the right-hand side and rear.
Okay.
And along the entire rear line is a public access
Oh, that's right, yeah, I do remember now, yeah, there was,
that
yeah.
fronts the entire rear. So
Is it the entire,
yeah.
that's Lang Avenue back there?
my recollection
Yeah.
was in
That's right,
2016,
it's like a
until
paper street.
that street is opened, that the gate would remain locked. And at the point when that street was open, the gate would be unlocked and utilized.
Okay, so we're going to go for installing the gate then. and
The
then
gate is
go from
on the
there.
plan right now,
Oh, it
yes.
is? Okay, it is on there.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, is it on or is it off? Because he just said that it was not
It's
on.
on.
It's on, but not being used.
Got it, okay.
It's on the right-hand side.
Sure. It's on the right-hand side of the rear of the property line.
Right, that's what I thought.
Okay, good.
And that'll be another double gate entrance, correct?
Right, one of the comments was to make sure it's double gated.
It says provided, there's no gate written on
Okay, anything else?
there. That's it.
What's the proposed height of the display signs?
I'd have to look back at our conditional use application. It will conform, but I'm not exactly certain what the height overall is.
Yeah, that was one of your comments.
You're supposed to submit a plan showing the actual sign.
I mean, it looks like, Ron, from your letter, the conditional use hearing indicated
24
height of
feet.
24 feet.
24
Is
feet.
that still the final? Okay.
Is the building still standing on the property right now, the house that was there? Is that still standing?
It's
Yes.
still there now, but it's on the plan to be removed.
Okay, well, I've had several calls to me saying that there's people going in and out of that property all hours of the day and night. So I'm asking you now on the record to clean that up, lock it up, and make sure nobody can access in there.
So as of today, we don't have possession of the property, so I can tell you that as soon as we take possession, there won't be anybody there, but I can't promise that we'll remove them tomorrow simply because we don't have possession of the property yet.
But you will convey to the owner tomorrow your
Absolutely.
strong encouragement that he secure that property, and if he'd allow you to, you'd go out there at your cost and secure it, correct?
His closing is going to depend on it.
Okay, good.
That's good, because with people going in those hours of the night, it's not for anything good, so.
And could you, for the public's sake and other people's sake, because it's been a while since you were up here, could you basically talk about the hours that the park would be available and who it would be available to? Because I know we talked about someone being there and certain hours, so like dogs aren't going to be there in the middle of the night and such.
So it's an unlit facility. This will not be operational at nighttime.
Right.
So it's, I'll say dawn to dusk, but probably not from dawn.
Okay.
We don't want to open at an unreasonable hour in the morning and, like you say, have dogs running around there.
Right.
As far as who would use it, it's open to the public. We anticipate that there may be some modest fee to use the park, primarily for the upkeep, but the primary revenue driver for this project are the displays. So that's going to be where the bulk of the revenue for the project comes from.
Yes, okay.
You're still going to have the sign up where people have to have a card to be able to get in and out.
That's correct.
So that there's going to be, you'll know who's going in and out and what's happening there. So that's still in place, right?
That's correct,
That'll be part of the modest fee I get, water for the dogs and
of course.
access cards, okay?
But there's not a fee to go into the park, correct?
There would be a fee to have access to the park, yes. That it's private property, and we do want to track who's coming and going. The amount of the fee, I'm not sure about, because it depends on the operational costs of the project.
Would it be like a card, a yearly card, or would it be individual?
Yes, it would be a card. I don't know whether it would be yearly or monthly or daily, but all of that's on the table.
And there'd be a consideration, obviously, for Bensalem residents as opposed to people outside of Bensalem.
I'm not aware of that discussion in the past. I think it's something we'd be willing to entertain. I don't know that that's something I can agree to tonight, but that's certainly on the table.
Because Bensalem dogs are much nicer.
The dogs are well-behaved in Salem.
That's true. I have heard that, yes.
So is the card entry at the point of entry with the vehicles or where you're walking in the gate to the park?
The card entry would be in the building that you see there. So as you make your way through the building, you would swipe your card.
Okay. And who's controlling the gate for the vehicles?
There's not a gate for the vehicles.
Proposed gate.
Oh, in the front?
Yes, there is.
Oh, they close it, that's nighttime.
Is that just?
Right, that's to close at night so that
Okay.
people are not accessing the parking lot
Okay,
at
and
all
then, all
hours.
right, is that a breakthrough gate? Did you read through the packet here?
I'm sorry, I don't know which packet you're referring to.
The letter, I believe, was from Ron?
From Mr.
There were-
Yance?
There were several items in there. For example, the fire letter had specified an item regarding the breakthrough gate, if there was something going on there at night. There was a police letter also there as well. Can you address the no left-hand turn onto Street Road?
I did not receive a police letter, but I do have the fire marshal's letter, and I spoke to him. Can you tell me the date of the, well, I just don't have any.
Well, why don't we start at the beginning, and why don't we go through Mr. Gantz's letter and all of the comments there, and we can flip through to the fire marshal.
Yeah,
and
we'll
then
do that.
traffic safety.
Let's get the questions done first, and then we'll do the whole, and then the public has to be able to speak. to it.
Absolutely.
So to answer your question, the gates will be set with those to work with the fire marshal's
That
requirements.
wasn't your question.
So
that was one of them.
That was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and then the left-hand turn.
That,
It's,
I don't remember seeing no left turn. Is that from the police?
Yeah, it's dated January 23rd, 2019. Install no left-hand turn at the existing exit due to heavy traffic and multiple lanes of traffic to cross.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're filing with PennDOT, and I hadn't received the police letter. So that would probably be something we'd want to take a look at right now.
Wouldn't that be determined by the highway?
It is, really.
Occupancy and
PennDOT, yeah.
PennDOT?
Well, in terms of design, the island at the entrance, could that be sculpted to only allow for right exit onto Street Road? In terms of traffic safety, I think what we're concerned about is anybody making a left-hand turn onto Street Road from there, as they exit the dog park.
Yeah, you have to,
So, not just putting a sign that says exit, right turn only, but actually making it a physical barrier so that that's only allowed. Is that something that you would consider?
It's up until this point, we haven't considered restricting it.
Give me 1 second.
My concern just with that is that if we do that, then every other business on Street Road should be the same way, not be able to make a left-hand turn.
And it's the
Every
same
other
thing with the
well, there could be a
sidewalks.
sign. I don't
as
think
we
it's
put in
possible.
new-
I don't think
new
it's possible to put a structure to not make a left-hand.
No, just
You
the,
have to go into the street.
no, you just take the concrete curb and mold it so that it's ramp. It's the same way that half the businesses on
And
Street
it doesn't
Road
work.
Yeah, turn, you can.
It doesn't work.
You can encourage them. to
Coming
go
here
that way.
tonight, I was coming out of my street making a left-hand turn.
people are not gonna follow it.
Somebody coming out of Burger King decided to make a
Yes.
left-hand turn and almost hit me. So if you put that in there, it's not gonna help anything anyway, because they're gonna do what they want.
Well, I think.
I think it'll help
If
some
you
people,
had the
maybe not
right-hand
everybody.
lane, bending right, where it would discourage people from making a left and make it no left. It's not physically impossible, but I see what you mean now. So you could,
will have to be approved by PennDOT.
had to prove by PennDOT. But if our local police say they don't want a left-hand turn there, we should be able to have some kind of input on that, right?
Well, they're the final. PennDOT's the final.
Final say, okay, well, so you're gonna follow whatever PennDOT says?
Right.
Okay, but we think they're not gonna let lefts there, I would think.
They're gonna let
Mr. Pizzo, can we put a restriction in there that no left turns would come out of there on the street road for
Sure
exit?
we can.
We can,
Do
right?
whatever we want.
We did it with the bank.
You can, and that will obviously express to PennDOT your collective preference as to the traffic movements in and out of the site.
Okay.
But again, ultimately, PennDOT will make the
Okay.
final
We did it
determination.
with the bank, we'll do
If
that.
Let me
the
ask you-
township believes that left turns out of there are not a good idea, then that's certainly
I
something
find
PennDOT
hard
will
to
look
believe
at
that
and listen
PennDOT would
to.
encourage
Yeah.
that. I mean,
I don't think the developers really care what's happening. They're interested in the signs going up there, making the money from the advertisement. So whatever we request, they're gonna be happy to do.
okay.
Mr. Player, I see your point, but my concern is the line of sight too, with that big sign there. You're trying to make that left, and they're gonna just pull out even further out in the street road.
Oh,
Because they're
yeah.
trying to pass or get far enough to pass, so this way they create a line of sight beyond that
I
sign.
understand that,
Yeah,
but
but
you
he
got,
doesn't wanna make
you
it
got
left here.
businesses on either side of it. Are you gonna make them have a left turn out too? I mean, if you're gonna do it to one, you have to do it to everybody.
If they redevelop their properties, absolutely.
Yeah, when it comes in front of us.
Okay, well, we can encourage them to make a right, and I think PennDOT's gonna make a right. We're gonna put it in there, and then if PennDOT overrides us, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Is there any other questions from the board, or? Okay, is anybody in the public that would like to
Well,
speak?
No, we should go through
let's
this.
go through the letter.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought we would have an opportunity.
There might be things that
Yeah, things that come up. We'll get to you, ma'am. Sorry. Okay, under Mr. Gantz's letter dated February 20th, under our C zoning. Okay, so number one, the slope's acceptable, Mr. Gantz, because it was prior to the existence of that rule? Okay. So number two, the applicant's minimum of 3 types of lighting elements as required does not indicate.
The plan actually indicates and will be revised to show
Okay, so
that
that's a
will comply with 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are things,
Okay, so the plan, okay, so the lighting on 3, 4, and 5 will comply, and the landscaping plan has not been required, you will do that too?
yes, the landscape plan will be revised per what we just discussed as well.
Okay, so you'll comply with that, and then Mr. Gantz would approve it,
Yes.
our engineer. Okay,
Mr. Knowles, before you leave zoning, it isn't in Mr. Gans's letter, but when the gentleman mentioned an 8-foot-high fence, Ron, is that going to require any zoning relief for a fence of that height and in this district?
It would, because 6 is nice.
Okay, so you're gonna have to get zoning relief for your 8.
I'm told that the fence is not actually, the fence is not actually located within the side yard setback. It's recessed from the setback. So I'm not entirely certain that the 8-foot fence is prohibited.
It is.
You made it 8 foot at the request of the residents?
Yeah.
I believe we made it 8 foot at the request of council at the
Yeah,
time of
well, because the
conditional use
residents
approval.
were here, were concerned that
Right,
dogs were gonna
right.
jump over the fence.
Makes total sense.
So, you have to get zoning relief for the 8-foot fence, so, but that's something you should be able to get, because that's something that's you're being asked to do, but it's technically 6 foot's the highest in that area.
Would 6 foot be okay to propose then?
No, I think we wanted a higher fence, right?
For those jumping Mexican dogs
Yeah, you
that
never
we
know,
have
I
in
mean.
Bensalem.
The people, from my recall, it's the sides and just the sides, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Right, at the rear, there's a physical barrier.
Yeah,
so,
physical barrier, so.
So it'd be the sides and probably
Part of the
the
back.
interior fences along the front as well. I mean, obviously, any place where one of the bigger dogs is going to be, we would want the higher fence.
Yeah.
Actually, probably around the pool area as well. The small dog area, I think we might be able to safely assume
Yeah,
they
you
can.
can do 6-foot
jump,
fence, will
but-
probably be fine.
Right.
That rendering depicts like a 4-foot fence on there. so-
Right, this is.
Right, we went from 4 to 8. I don't know why we
Correct.
didn't stop at 6.
I don't know where the 6 foot is. I don't see it as a condition in the conditional use approval, or it's not in the conditional use plan. So maybe it was a discussion item, but I submit to you that a
It was a
6-foot fence, I don't think many dogs are gonna jump a 6-foot
It
fence.
was a discussional, and it was agreed to that it would go 8 because dogs can jump 6 feet. Some of your bigger dogs can jump 6-foot fences. So
some of them
it was discussed as conditional. You can go back and look in the record, but I believe that the residents here came and asked for it, and, they were against your project in the beginning until you guys made
Some changes.
some changes that needed to be made. So
So-
now the change on them just doesn't bode well.
Right, no, we want to adhere to that promise that we made at the time, and if it requires us to go get zoning relief, we
Okay.
will do so.
So you'll get zoning relief for that.
Now, where are we talking, just to clarify, Joe, where are we talking the 8-foot fence? Are we talking
question.
along the rear, along the sides,
I know, I
along the
think
front? Because
you have a barrier across I mean, I don't know,
I think anywhere where the large dogs are
anywhere the
coming
large
in.
dogs are back, my concern in the back would be, it looks like you have like a half wall. I'm concerned a dog would jump up on that and then go over, you know what I mean? So, I'm thinking maybe 8 foot across the back too, because you have, it's nice to have the stone and the bushes, but the dog can jump up on that and then jump over the fence, couldn't he?
Well, we're not going to have that close enough, correct, Ari? So a dog's not going to be able to jump up on the structure and then jump over the fence.
Looks like is the fence like right behind the structure
Right.
of the stone, isn't it?
Right.
So the fence behind the stone should be 8 foot, in my opinion.
And so should the,
The
should
sides,
both
anywhere where there's
sides.
large dogs.
Because you got a business on one side, a gentleman that has he does tax returns and things like that on one side, and the other side, there's houses and businesses over there. If you don't have it, you're not taking care of their properties and making sure the dogs can't come over there and then have a problem with their people that are using their businesses.
So you'd like to see the 8-foot fence in the rear, on the sides, and in the front as well?
No, our discussion was there wasn't going to be in the front, there would be 6-foot fences in the front. Now, to the best of my recollection,
That kind of defeats the purpose of.
well, I mean, we can,
Well, they're more
that 8
under
all along,
control
that's
of them.
fine.
They should
I'm
be
just
under
saying what I
control
remember
towards the front of
talking
the,
about, that's all.
front of the property. They should, I mean, there's only a little slot there that they're going to be able to get out into the parking lot.
If it was going to be 8 foot, I think it would be 8 foot all the way around.
Yeah,
I agree.
Plus, you can make it, you have like slats in
I
it
mean, if
anyway,
that's
so
what
it's not going to be, it's not going to look
determination
barricadish. I mean, you can, as long as the dog can't get through the slots, you can make like slots in it and have it decorative. It doesn't have to be a solid 8-foot piece of fence.
Well, if you're talking an 8-foot fence, you're talking only a couple options. I mean, if an 8-foot fence is a high fence, you rarely see them. Structurally, they go in very deep, and so they have to be,
I think you
Yeah.
can get one if you're willing to pay for it.
yeah. But if you want the slots, then we're looking at chain
Well, I don't
link
want
with the
slots. I'm just
slots,
telling you,
yeah.
you can't get them, just saying.
I'm
you
just
could
trying
if
to
you
talk
want
through with you the options, the
No,
board on
it's-
board, or,
Get an 8-foot fence, they come in PVC, I know that.
okay,
They're a little more expensive, but not ridiculous. All right.
Okay.
Anything, I mean, people got to be safe. It only takes one dog.
100%, I agree, Mr. Chairman, I'm just
It only
trying
takes
to,
one giant dog to get out in the neighborhood, you know?
I just want to understand if anyone has a preference as to the type of the fence, so that we get it on there correctly.
Okay, well, we'll do an 8-foot fence, and it'll be agreement
Sure,
with our
Joe.
zoning officer.
Okay,
Anything else, Joe?
The
or-
zoning ordinance does allow for a 6-foot fence with a 1 foot of razor wire.
No, we're not doing
Just
that.
just
No.
throwing it out there.
No,
Seems like a recipe for disaster, Mr. Pizzo.
That sounds like lawsuit.
we like to discipline our dogs in Bensalem, but not like that. That's all right. We'll let them learn, but not learn the hard way.
Now I know what Trump's going through with the wall.
Okay, I know, okay. So, okay, anything, okay, so now, anything else, Joe? Is that okay with our zoning portion?
That regrettably was the only thing that
Okay, good.
I
That's the
had
only-
under zoning.
Okay, under land development, a profile should be provided for the stormwater system. Is that done?
That would comply.
Required street trees and sites have not been provided, so we've already talked about that, so you're either going to comply or pay for the street
That's correct.
trees, and you're going to make an effort to plant some trees behind in the front, behind the monuments.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll comply.
Well, you're still going to ask for a waiver, but you're going to comply as best as you can. Is
Yeah.
that
As
correct?
best we can and
Yeah.
fit as many, try to get the quantities.
Exactly.
Ask for a waiver and
These
pay in
just the
lieu of.
location.
And you'll work together with our engineer to make sure that everything you're going to do is going to work.
Right, we'll keep it 10 feet away from the sewer, 10 feet away from the water.
It says, now, not to bring up walls again, but it says walls is indicated on the plans, construction details should be provided. What wall are you talking about, Mr. Gantz?
It's the rear wall.
Along the rear line.
On the rear, yeah, so that's what I'm saying, we have to know.
Yes,
To me, it looked like it was gonna be like a half-wall stone and then a fence behind it, which would cut the fence height in half, but, okay, so you're gonna provide that wall
Yes.
construction and it'll be upon our engineer's approval. Okay, manholes or inlets should be provided at a storm sewer bends, AO4, AO5 for maintenance purposes.
that's correct.
Is that a will comply?
Yes,
Cleanouts for maintenance purpose should be provided in all directions, 6-foot perforated pipe system.
that will comply with.
6-inch, I'm sorry. Okay. And now, we addressed this already, but it appears that the required sidewalks have not been provided along Street Road, but you're going to provide them east and west on Street Road now.
Yes,
Okay, so
Yep.
sidewalks will be provided, will comply. Dimensions and details must be provided for the monument signs. Has that been done, Mr. Gantz, or?
I think they submitted some renderings.
Okay. So that's a will comply.
Dimensions are on the conditional use here.
Okay. Okay, and these basin things and,
Yeah, the stormwater management comments break down into that 8% impervious cover, which we talked about earlier,
right, so you're gonna,
and the DEP requirement.
yeah, you're gonna have to follow the DEP's requirement that it's an impervious surface. Okay, so you're gonna have to meet, either cut back on the area or get a variance,
That's right.
okay? Okay, so under F, miscellaneous, under the recording acknowledgement section, the applicant needs to change the engineer's signature.
Yes,
I'm sure-
all 6 of these items will comply.
Okay, recorder's deeds, parking. Okay, so 3 says the parking tabulation indicates 28 parking spaces, but you only provided 26. Are you providing the other 2?
Yeah, no, it is 26 spaces. We will revise the tabulation to reflect that.
Okay, so, and 26 is okay, Ron? That was what we, okay.
Yes,
Okay, so that was just an error? Okay. The word homeowner should not be used. We changed property owner, okay? It's street
Correct.
labeled. You're changing that to Lang Avenue instead of street labeled alley.
I will.
And that's the alley they're going to use
That's the rear alley
to
that
get to
fronts
the back gates.
the back. Mhm.
Okay, and then construction details, I mean, because people in the neighborhood do have dogs, so it is nice that they have access to it. Construction detail sheet should be on the, so that's a will comply too.
Yes,
Okay, and then it's a will comply with the fire rescue department that Mr. Techmasian had mentioned, that you'll either give access to that gate or that gate would be able to be broken open if the fire or rescue need to get into the front gate.
that's right. We worked with him. We got the dimensions of the fire apparatus, and we're providing details as to how he can maneuver the site without running over any of the curbs or
Yeah,
curb
and
islands.
either he has to have access to that front gate, either have ability to open it, like
Yep.
provide him a key or.
He's got a fire code in place that we will
Be able to open the
specify.
front gate, okay. Or they'll run it over, you know. Okay, so all fences and gates shall comply with requirements of the fire code, so that's a will comply.
Yes,
And then the police traffic thing, we're gonna recommend that there be a no left turn sign. We're gonna add no left turn, and that you're gonna make a effort to the exit lane to bent curb to the right to provide easier access to make a right as opposed to, so people realize besides reading the sign that they're supposed to go right.
If
You follow
that's
all
the
PennDOT's
directive.
recommendations.
right. I haven't seen that letter or received that letter,
Okay.
so that's your
Well,
directive.
we're gonna add it because it's here. And then plus, you have to follow PennDOT's recommendations, so if there's a dispute, we'll have to resolve that with PennDOT.
Okay,
Well, the traffic safety had another comment regarding line of sight. They wrote specifically, without detailed information, the proposed signs at the entrance, we are unable to determine if this may cause a sight obstruction for vehicles pulling out of neighboring properties. They requested
yeah.
a more detailed description of the signs.
we've located these signs outside of all site triangles and site lines, neighbors included. They are not in any of them.
And PennDOT's gonna have to approve that.
And that application is going to be filed with PennDOT to review. So we're well aware of all of the sight lines. This stretch of Street Road actually is extremely straight and clear. That provided us an opportunity to take measurements from
Okay,
all the neighbors on our side of the street and make certain of that.
okay.
Okay. All right, any other, is there anything else, Mr. Pizzo, that I missed, or?
Nothing that I can see, Mr. Knowles. I would just
We can add when we make a motion.
circling back to the fence, for front yards, maximum height of fences is 4 feet, correct, Mr. Gantz? So just keep all that in your minds.
Well, they're gonna have to get a variance either way, because,
Just putting it out there so that you're all fully informed.
yeah, I mean, if you wanted to me, if you wanted to set something up where you could put it, like a way that dogs couldn't get to the front fence or something, you know what I mean? That's up to
Well, the
you.
front fence will be a 4-foot fence, but then the dog part of it would be an 8-foot.
8-foot fence, right.
Right.
Okay, so you're gonna have to get a variance for the 8-foot fence, no matter if it's 6 or 8 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, the ordinance seems to say that it's 6.5 feet is the maximum, then plus the barbed wire. So what we'd ask, Mr. Chairman, is that we will use good faith efforts to seek a variance from the zoning hearing board for the 8-foot.
Right.
And if they grant it, we'll provide for 8, but if they deny the variance, then we would leave the fence at the 6.5 feet as allowed under the ordinance.
Okay, I mean, that's fair enough, I think. I mean,
Or we do our approval conditional upon zoning.
Then they would have to come
And then they
back.
have to come back.
yeah. Okay, we'll just make it, we'll make it conditional upon zoning's approval, and then you just come back. I mean, I think they're they have no reason to not give you relief.
Okay. Yeah, as long as there's something that just says that the board then, if we're unable to obtain the relief, that the board would reconsider that condition in light of the zoning hearing board's decision.
If you had a problem with the zoning board, I'm sure we would send our emissary to go to the zoning board and tell them that we want the 8-foot fence.
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether a 6.5-foot fence stops a dog more than an 8-foot fence. to tell you the
Okay.
truth. I'm not into, I don't.
And we're gonna
study-
try for it.
I don't study
Yep.
the jumping abilities of dogs, you know what I mean? So I don't really know, you know?
Joe
so-
wasn't a jumper in his high school days, right?
I don't know. I know I can't jump 6 foot, so that's all I know.
I would hope that the zoning hearing board, knowing the council made this a condition,
Okay.
would look at it in a way that is for public safety. And I think that they would.
I think they would.
No, I don't know if they would approve it, but I would believe a rational person would make that assumption that if council wants it for public safety, then it should be done.
And we'll hash it out with them, or you come back to us and we'll work it out,
Yep,
okay?
we will file for that with the details for the fence as well, so that everybody understands what the
Yeah.
fence is, what the materials are, where it goes, where the gate is. We'll put all that on a fence plan, and we'll file that in the next couple of days with the zoning hearing board.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one other quick question.
Yeah.
The size of the trash receptacles that you plan on putting in there, is that going to be a smaller dumpster, or is that just going to be regular?
All right, in terms of the, all right,
Yeah, the only reason I'm asking is because the concern, if you have a trash truck coming in there, you know, if you're going to have the gate closed during off hours, then I'm assuming they're going to be coming in there during peak hours or time when you're going to have cars in there. Is there going to be a concern with that truck actually having to back out of there? Because I don't foresee if there's cars parked there, that truck's going to be able to safely turn around.
Right, yeah, so the trash service would be privately provided,
Yep.
and one of the terms that we would include is that the trash service would occur at times when the public's not using the park
So you're
as
gonna have to
frequently.
provide access to the gate.
Right.
To the trash company.
That would be
also.
correct.
So it'd be like the
Okay.
ambulance, it would,
Yep.
it's a good point, though, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think we're ready for public comment now, so this lady would like to come forward. We have several people actually would like to come forward.
okay.
Who would have
Excuse me.
thought?
My name's Alan Windsor, 3232 Azalea Avenue. Everything, I liked everything that was going on, except for back in the back, I believe that's a paper street. If you're going to let people in there, you're going to put up no parking signs back in there, so, because residents will just park back there and come in the back. You can't drive back there?
No, it's
It's a paper street right now,
Right.
grass,
it's not
trees.
paved.
Oh, okay, all right. The right turns, you're talking about having them do a right turn? Ever since the buildings have been going on Street Road, at the doctor's office and the veterinarians, I've been asking for that type of thing, no right turn, and you didn't let them do it. You didn't make them do it, so I don't know how you can make
Well,
somebody else.
it's up to PennDOT really, but if it's
Right,
dangerous.
but you're asking for it, you didn't ask for anybody
Well,
else.
when they go in front of.
We did.
We did, but when they go in front of
Make the
us
bank.
again to redevelop or something, then we'll make those no left turns.
I specifically remember when the doctor's office went in, I brought
So
up
do you
no
want us
right,
to let them
only
make-
right turns,
so do you
and
want
you
us to-
guys didn't do
So do you
anything.
want us to make it more dangerous and let them make left turns too?
I don't know why you can do it for one and not another.
Okay, I don't
You
know.
make everybody that's already
Okay,
put it in, I'm just,
well, it's up to PennDOT, so we'll decide. I understand what you're saying, though, Al.
Alan, point well taken.
Yeah, I understand what you're
Thank you.
saying. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But PennDOT may agree and say they can't do it. We'll see.
Barbara Zeidler, excuse me, 1108 Ohio Avenue. There was a whole lot of conversation about fence, but the one thing I didn't hear mentioned was the fact that they said there's going to be a pool in there. Now, I know it's a dog park, but people with children live in that area. And as far as I know, we've had a pool for, I don't even know how many years, 30-some years. The horizontals have got to be a minimum of 4 feet apart. they can't have horizontal, I don't care if you put it 8 feet up, if it's horizontal slats that they
Yeah, well,
can
if a
climb
kid-
like a
yeah,
ladder.
I agree, and if a kid could get through it, a dog could get through it, but it's gonna be a
Well,
solid.
yeah, but I'd be more concerned, I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I
the dogs are going to be there with their owners, but if kids wander around.
No, we'll make sure the fence
the-
can't, it's not gonna
And that
be,
would include that inside portion too, that's fencing off. I mean, the pool itself has got to be safely fenced for children.
Yeah, I agree.
Because obviously, they're not going to be open 24 hours a day. There's going to be time when that park is empty, and if kids can get in there, it's a hazard. I don't know how deep it is, but it only takes a teaspoon of water for a child to drown.
yeah, we agree.
Ron,
And it's gonna be,
What
It
is
is going to
our,
be,
what is,
it's going to be, the perimeter's going to be 8 foot, right? The
Yeah.
whole perimeter of the park's going to be 8 foot.
But it has to be a special kind of fence. So for Ron, we have an ordinance for pool safety fences, correct?
4 foot.
Would that
But the
apply?
fence is only 4 feet high, required by the ordinance.
Right.
Now, if they want to put an 8-foot high, they're permitted to.
Well, I believe what
with
she's talking
zoning.
about is the type of fence, a horizontal slatted fence is climbable. So
Right.
that wouldn't
So you-
qualify as a safety fence for a pool.
Obviously, they can't put that kind.
So anything that they have immediately around that pool area would have to also comply with our ordinance
Sure.
regarding pool safety fences.
Lockable gates.
And I believe the applicant said that they are going to prepare a fence plan for the property that will then be submitted to the township and reviewed. So obviously, to the extent that there's a water feature in the nature of a pool on the property, the township will make them comply with whatever fencing is required to go around pools.
Can you, and it does bring up a good question, can you say what the depth of that water feature will
Yeah, I
be?
was going to say, how deep is it? Can't be much more than 2 foot.
Yeah, Ari, what's the depth of the water feature? Is that
Maybe like a 2 foot.
2 feet, 3 feet? What is that? 3 feet. 3 feet?
yeah.
3 feet
But we
deep.
are not, just,
It's enough.
this was just an artist rendering, and it showed that rodeo-style fence that you could climb. That's not the type of fence that we're going to be proposing here that's 8 feet tall. No child, let me put it that way, no child is gonna be able to climb this 8-foot fence. It's
Okay.
not gonna have the
We'll make
ability
sure of
for
that.
anyone to
Okay.
go through it. Correct.
Okay, good. And we'll make sure of it. Yeah, ma'am, you were actually first before you.
That's okay.
That's all right.
I don't know most of you, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Stephanie Cohn Schaefer, and my family owns the property across the street, 4800 Street Road, Bucks County Technology Park.
Okay.
And just to give you a little background about us, we bought that building in year 2000. We were located in 4 locations in Langhorne, and we moved to the township, and I've been very happy. We brought 500 employees in. When we bought the building in 2000, the building was too big for our family, for our business, so we invested in the building and have done a lot of infrastructure work in the building, have attracted a lot of tenants. We now have about 1,200 employees in the building, and we're a multi-tenant building with about 10 or 12 different tenants that are here. The first I heard about this was on a week ago. We got our certified notification. We didn't know about any of the other meetings, or I probably would have been here. But so I asked Chuck, who is our family counsel. He has worked for our family for 20 years. He's the in-house counsel for the business. I asked him to go to the township, take a look at it, and he has some questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for your time. As Stephanie said, my name's Charles Michaud. I'm an attorney. I'm here tonight. I read through the file. We want to be an interested party for the record. Our primary concern, well, let me get back. We just brought a new tenant into the building, and there are currently over 200 employees, soon to be over 400. They signed a short-term lease because they were concerned about traffic issues. They want to get a feel for the facility in the area before they sign up for a long-term lease. And that's where our concern is coming up. If you're familiar with our building, when you come out of our facility, you cannot make a left-hand turn. You must make a right-hand turn. We have people coming in the morning making a left-hand turn. With the dog park there, people are going to be making a left-hand turn. So you're going to have people trying to make left-hand turns simultaneously in that center line. That's our concern. And I looked at the packet. I didn't see a traffic study done, and I was wondering if there was a traffic study done with the car count and left-hand turns. Because as I said, one of our concerns are employees turning in our facility. They'll be going head-to-head with dual left-turning cars.
Yeah, is it that close? Is it that close?
Fairly close, yeah. I will see cars.
I worked at 4800 Street Road for 10 years.
Yeah, I will see cars 6, 7, 8 lined up sometimes trying to make a left-hand turn into our property in the morning.
Yeah.
If there's one car trying to make a left-hand turn going the opposite way, going east on Street Road, that could cause a potential issue. And as you all know, that long stretch, people are apt to get in that lane well before they need to. And they kind of use it almost as from an HOV lane, they have clear sailing and no sailing. So that's a real concern. And I saw the traffic study done by McMahon in 2016, and that was more or less a line of sight study, had nothing to do with the number of cars and left-hand turns.
Ron, is that an issue that PennDOT would address, or is that?
Well, yes, PennDOT, again, would address that. When they make their application, they'll have to submit a traffic study.
So a traffic study will have to be submitted?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
PennDOT.
Okay. And will Bensalem get any say on the traffic study?
Our traffic engineer will be involved. Traffic planning and design is our plan.
And then will there be another hearing on the traffic study, or how will that work?
Probably not. It would be a PennDOT.
Oh, there'll be a PennDOT hearing then?
I don't know if it'll be a hearing, but they would issue the ultimate permit for that, based on all the studies.
Okay.
Is there a number determined by the ITE trip generation manual for a dog park? Is there such a thing?
I don't have that manual, but they probably do have a number for that.
And then in addition to that would be a actual trip study, AM or peak hour, PM peak hour study too. And that has not been done as far as I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct. That will be done as part of the PennDOT application, but this is an extremely low-impact use. I think so. We have 26 parking spaces. We believe 26 is well in excess of what's going to be needed at this park. I mean, we pale in comparison to the technology center across the street with hundreds of employees. Hopefully, this is amenity for them and the other businesses and residents in the area.
Yeah.
But we certainly would agree to copy them on the PennDOT submission and share the materials that we send to them, but the numbers are just nominal in terms of the lefts here versus the technology center.
I don't believe that the property that they're doing is at your property line in any way, right? It's like a property
directly
down.
Halfway down.
It's a property down, or it's a property and a half.
I would say maybe about 60 yards.
Yeah.
Right, so to stop people from making turns out onto the left-hand lane from any of the properties that are on the other
And
side.
most of your people are.
I'm talking really coming the other way. I know what you're saying. I'm talking about as they're heading
Coming up.
east on Street Road.
Right.
For them to make a left-hand turn, I think it could, needs to be studied.
I understand what you're saying, but you have a business they have a business right next to them. They could have the same problem, everybody else has the same problem with, how far down should it be covered for your business that's there, that they shouldn't be able to make a left-hand turn into the business? If it's not in front of your place where the turn lane is, where do you cut it off? And that's where we depend on PennDOT to make that decision and say, for safety's sakes, this is what happens.
Yeah, I agree, because you could say, well, people have to turn left into the restaurant, people have to turn left into Faulkner Cadillac, people have to turn left into the accounting place, and people have to make a right into your place or a left coming from Bensalem.
Right.
There's also an entrance in the back of your property too, right? Can you get in from the back?
You can get on Trevose Road.
Yeah, off of Tree Road
Right.
Road, right?
Yeah, I guess the question is what is going to be the capacity of the dog park?
I don't think it's gonna be that much.
If the applicant agreed to have a no left turn out of their facility, I don't know if you would, but I think you would. If they agreed to that, that would resolve your problem, your question. Is that correct?
No.
They're talking about left-hand turns into their property.
We're talking going Street Road east, making a left
Yeah, but you
into
have
the
people
dog
going
park.
to work early in the morning mostly, right? I mean, I wouldn't think that you're gonna have a ton of traffic for a dog park. At
The
same time,
tenant we just
people are
brought
go-
in is multiple shifts.
What's that?
So the tenant we just brought in is
Okay,
multiple
but I mean,
shifts.
yeah, but I don't wanna be, I don't think a new tenant with all the traffic in that area is gonna, a dog park's gonna put them over the top, not being your tenant. When you're buying you're a tenant at a building off of US 1 and Street Road with access, the major highways. I mean, that's part of the reason.
I don't think it's gonna be any more of an impact than the pediatrician's office that is actually closer to you would be. I think you'd have more people turning left into the pediatrician's office, affecting that same issue than the dog park, which
Yeah, we
is,
sent notices
you know, a
out when we had the
couple
minor
properties
subdivision
further down.
approval,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like this will be kind of trickle traffic that goes in and out of the
You're
the
right,
dog
if you
park.
look at the IT manual for like a pediatrician office with multiple doctors, people come in and out all day long. This is a maximum of 26 spaces. We don't even anticipate that being full at any one time. This is just nominal. This would pale in comparison to like a Chick-fil-A or something like that, that would drive hundreds of cars an hour. This is just nominal traffic here.
And I'm guessing most of the use will probably come from the neighborhood behind it,
Yeah.
since there'll be a gate in the back.
I think most of it's a
Facility.
sign, and they're just kind of supplying the dog park as a community, you know. Feature of being able to have the advertising. Is there, and we did send out notices when we did the minor subdivision approval a couple years ago, but I don't know whether you got them or not. but-
Unfortunately, we didn't get
Well, they
them.
were sent. But do you have any other points that you would like to make? or-
I do not.
Okay, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, it's
Yeah.
Charles Michon, M as in Mike, Achion.
And you did do a tremendous job with your facility, by the way.
Thank
have
you.
Great businesses there. That insurance company's very big. I worked for Allied Bond before it was 4800 Street Road, so
Thank you.
that was years ago. But it was going downhill at that point. You guys did a nice job of bringing
Thank
it
you
back.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else from the public? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Okay, does anybody want to make a motion with all our,
I'll make a motion, Mr. President.
okay, I think you're the most suited to do this, so hopefully.
I'll make a motion that Bensalem Township Council approve the land development, minor and nature for the Street Road Outdoor LLC Company located at 4767 Street Road, 2 tax map parcels. Do they have to be consolidated, I would think? Okay, then that's 02004-188 as well as 189. And I'm going to approach this a little differently. I'm going to say that, I'm going to put it this way, and then Mr. Pizer can follow me along. The applicant will agree to the zoning ordinance requirements for the impervious surface, either requesting a zoning variance or complying by decreasing the surface amount itself. The applicant will agree to will ask for a waiver for the trees and comply with the township engineer with the design and the amount of trees. If it's a shortfalling on the amount of trees, then the client would pay in lieu of for the street trees and the other trees. There would be a breakaway gate based on the applicant's request and the request of the fire department. The applicant will continue the sidewalks along the entire front of the property, sidewalks and curbs. I would also put in there that we would request the township that there would be a right turn out only, but that would be determined by the PennDOT's approval. We would also ask for an 8-foot fence or a wall, and that would be presented to our engineer and approved by our township engineer. Let me go from there. The applicant would comply with all Section C of the letter from Mr. Ron Gans, and that was dated received February 20th, 2019. O'Donnell Nacarado. The applicant would comply with Section C, 1 through 5. Also in the zoning, again, they would go to the zoning board to request a variance or to comply with the proper percentage. And they would have to also apply with the zoning for the 8-foot relief for the fence. And we would have a letter from our township requesting that also. When it comes to Section D, we already talked about the Section D2, where the street trees would be, we would grant a waiver for that, but again, he would comply with our township engineer for the amount of trees and the placement of the trees. Stormwater management. I don't know if there's any issues with stormwater management. I think that's in,
Just the impervious space.
yeah, we talked about the impervious runoff from there, we talked about that. So the stormwater management is to be complied by with the numbers that were submitted to us, pre-development and post-development. And there are 26 parking spaces, and that would be indicated on the plans also. And that would be my proposal, that we would approve that.
And then all the changes under F will comply.
What do you have, Joe?
Under F miscellaneous at the back,
Trying to get to F, A, B, C, D, F.
there's 6 miscellaneous things that they're going to comply.
Okay, that's what I just went through, yeah.
They're just
I'm
little
sorry,
changes.
6 of them, yeah,
they're
that's
just little
correct.
little
Nice.
changes to the plan.
I'll second it, but I do have 2 other items, Mr. Kisselback. If-
2 items, what do you got?
Yeah,
Joe?
just full compliance of all recommendations by PennDOT for both the traffic study as well as the signs that are to be erected. And in addition to those signs, they will be reviewed and approved by our engineer.
Okay.
Okay? That's what.
And, I'm sorry, and the wall. There was also a note about the wall being also approved
By our engineer, yes. They're submitting plans. Okay, so we have a motion. Mr. Pizzo, do you have anything to add that you see that either we amended a motion, missed?
The deed of consolidation for the 2 lots will be submitted to the township, reviewed and approved by the township solicitor and the township engineer. It will be recorded before or at the time of recording of the record plan.
Ask about that, but I didn't put it in there.
As far as the fence goes, just so that Ms. Gallagher and I are clear, we're requiring the 8-foot-high fence on the rear and side property lines, is that correct?
And the front.
You want it all the way around, all 4?
Yeah. Of the dog park,
Yes,
of the dog park itself. Anywhere where large dogs towards the front can get access.
that would be
to.
after the parking lot, exactly.
If it's that small dog area, you could have a lower fence.
No, because the dogs can, no, the whole.
Tiny dog.
Well, again, hence my confusion. There are multiple
They'll make it
fences.
8 foot then.
There are multiple fences on the property. They were going to submit a plan, and I think it'll be helpful for them, and certainly helpful for us as we write the approval. So you want the perimeter of the property to be 8 feet high?
Of the dog park
The
itself.
perimeter of the dog area, not the property.
Anywhere where the dogs will be off-leash should be 8-foot.
Well, that would include off-leash.
Yeah.
Off-leash.
So 8 feet high, all 4 sides.
So
Yep.
from the building to the back of the property, and including both sides.
Okay.
Okay.
The off-leash, I think the point is that when you walk the dog in the first gate and it's still on the leash,
Zero.
that fence wouldn't need to be 8. It's when you then walk into the second and you take the leash off.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so that is helpful, thank you.
Okay.
And then they are going to the zoning hearing board for that. If they don't get the variance, there was several discussions, and I apologize because I wasn't following all of them at once. If the zoning hearing board, in its infinite wisdom, should determine that no, 6.5 feet is tall enough,
Then they're going to have to come back to us.
you
and get
want them to
approval.
then come back?
Yes.
To reapprove the plan as is, but with a 6.5-foot fence versus
Yes.
an 8-foot fence?
Yes.
Yeah, I would just ask that that be confirmed. That you authorize Joe to put that acknowledgement in the decision. We'll do our best to obtain the zoning relief, but if we're unable to obtain it, then we would return to council for a request on a modified.
Right.
To that condition.
Right.
Mr. Pizzo,
Yes, sir.
would we be able to send a letter over when this comes up stating that the council is in favor of the
Exactly right.
8-foot
I'd
fence
like to send
for
them to the
public
council
safety in
meeting,
that
like the zoning
area?
meeting.
You could send a letter, you could send one of us.
Yeah, that's what I prefer, sending a representative from the council
Yeah.
stating our
That
position.
was in Mr. Kisselback's motion.
Yeah, that was in there, yeah. Okay.
Those were the only questions I had, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Ed made the second after he adjusted the motion, Mr.
Did
Kisselback.
Mr. Kisselback amend your original motion?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Ed Techmazian made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay?
Thank you.
What you just
Okay,
said,
good
I
luck.
also
Thank you.
was covered in what I said, too.
know you did, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up there, but exactly where to go. Oh, no, I wasn't. That's why I was pushing you, I just didn't get it. Could easily just.
But I was especially because they got out there.
No, fine, exactly. I said it was covered anyway, so I just let it go. It's fine. It's
Okay.
It's in there twice.
Number 10 on the agenda is consideration of a minor subdivision for Ron Grusin, I guess, or Grusin, and Sevilla Schul, 5651 Neshaminy Boulevard. There's someone here for this? Okay.
Good evening, I'm John Richardson from Dumac Engineering. I'm here representing Mr.
Okay, hold.
John Richardson. I'm here representing Mr. and Mrs. Grusin. Mrs. Grusin here with me. She has the required notifications for the property owners.
Okay, can you give them to our solicitor, Mr. Pizzo?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, did they seem to be in order, Mr. Pizzo?
Yes, they do appear to be in order, Mr. Knowles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to continue?
Uh,
Are you an engineer or an attorney?
I am a civil engineer
Okay, all
licensed
right.
in Pennsylvania.
Okay, good, thank you.
This is a two-lot minor subdivision. It's along Neshaminy Boulevard, approximately 2 blocks down from Bristol Road. The lot is almost an acre, it's about 0.9 acres. And my client would like to subdivide the property nearly in half and build one additional single-family dwelling. We've submitted to the township. We received a letter from the township engineer. There's 2 minor comments in it, one that they want monuments and one that they want percolation test. We plan on conforming to both requests. The plans required no zoning relief, and the only waivers that we're asking for is to allow an aerial photograph instead of all existing features within 400 feet, and to waive the requirements for sidewalk.
And then what is the frontage of each lot now?
The frontage of each lot, one will be along the existing house will be 106.9, and the frontage along the proposed will be 90.4.
Okay.
The site drains almost directly away from Neshaminy Boulevard. We plan on installing a stone dry well in the rear of the lot underground to provide for stormwater management. That is about all I have for this. Like I said, it's only a minor.
That's why they call it
simple.
simple, that's why they call it simple, right, or minor? Okay,
I have a question.
okay, you have a question? Okay.
The existing dwelling that's on the property, do you know the square footage of that property, or that building there?
Do I know the square footage of the existing dwelling? I can give it to you. It has a footprint of about 921 square feet.
921 square feet. Okay, and you're splitting this almost in half, correct?
Correct.
And your 900 square foot home, and then you're going to be proposing a 3,400 square foot building on that new lot.
Correct.
Does that include the basement?
That is the footprint.
That's the footprint.
Whether it includes a basement, to be honest, I'm not sure.
So we're actually probably going to, I'm sorry, Sylvia Schuler-Grusin.
That's 100 by 30.
Sylvia, Sylvia. Schuler.
Yeah, but if it fits on the lot.
SCHUELLER-GRUZIN.
That could be 2 floors, could be 30,000 square foot.
So we actually proposed to make that a smaller footprint because that is way too big.
Okay.
And I agree with you.
Talking about that.
But either way, you're gonna have to, once you build the house, you're gonna have to get approval for it. You're gonna have setbacks on each side.
correct.
You're gonna have frontage setbacks, you're gonna
That's
have back
correct.
setbacks.
That's correct. I believe this was the maximum that could be built there, but we are going to be smaller than that, absolutely.
Okay, and is the existing house, it doesn't matter too much, I'm just curious, is it a ranch now home, or is it a
The
two-story
existing
house?
home on there, it's two-story house.
Two-story
Yeah,
house, so
yeah.
it could be 1,800 square feet then, if it's 900. Something, if the footage of the bottom is 900, could be 1,800 square
Right.
feet, or Cape Cod.
Right,
or-
right.
Okay, I thought you lived in the first house, so I'm sorry, I thought you were.
I actually live behind it, so.
Okay, I thought you would have intimate knowledge of the first house, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be in the second lot, we'll have a house that fits in the building permit.
I would just like to say that the proposed house as shown on here does fit within the envelope.
Yeah, that's what I mean. the building
And
envelope.
within the building coverage requirements and the impervious.
And you have to
surface
get a building permits for that house when you build it?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, is there any other questions from council? Okay, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak for or against this proposal?
No, exactly, that's what he said, exactly.
Yeah, my name is Ulanbek Jakubekov.
I'll give you mine.
I know, but no, they'll just give you the maximum build out, but they're not gonna build it that big. This is the maximum which met the requirement. They're gonna make it much smaller. I said the same thing, that's 1,000 square foot. I know, it's a castle.
Ron, are you, do you have a position on the requested waiver at A1? Allowing the photograph to serve for the...
No problem with that. That's becoming commonplace with the good aerial photography we have today, rather than surveying it for that distance, which is very expensive.
So my question is, my property joined with this property. I'm 4628 Hillside Avenue. I'm a little bit lower on the west side. So it will be a family house, single family house, or it will be business?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you can ask the questions
Yeah.
to the council, and then we'll, it has to be a single-family residential home for the zoning. Just because
Okay.
you're dividing a lot, they still have to use that lot to fit in the zoning along there, and along there is single-family residential.
How many stories will be? How high? Like,
Well, it's
We're not determining
We're not
that at
determining
this
that now,
time.
we're just subdividing the lot that it can be built on. There's height requirements that have to be met, like you can't be too high. So it could be a two-story home, or it could be a one-story home, it can't be a five-story home, for instance.
okay.
It can't be so high.
Existing house there is like a stone house. It will be not demolished, right? No. Oh, okay. I mean, when they will build the house, the workers, they will work like during the work hours, weekdays, or how?
You can ask, okay, so we'll find that out. When they'll be working on building the house?
Yeah, when they will be building
Well,
the
it's gonna
house.
have to be when it's light out, I mean, I would think, so it's gonna have to be during the light hours. They're not gonna be able to make noise in the middle of the night or something. Is that what you're
Okay.
concerned about?
And they're not gonna use any asbestos or something like which affect, because
No.
there is a hill. Everything what they built, or if it spill, it will.
No, they're gonna have to
go
get
to us.
they're gonna have to get permits. It's gonna be watched by the township. Our inspectors are gonna go out along the way. They're gonna get permits if they dig a basement. They're gonna get permits for the foundation. They're gonna have to get prove that the water stays on the property. It doesn't cause anybody else water situation to change. So all that's gonna be watched by the township, this whole process.
That's all.
And if you have any problems, come back and let us know, or contact the mayor's office, and they'll...
My concern is only safety concerns, but I wish all the best for the neighbor, because they will be my neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah, be good. Okay, thanks for coming out.
Just to confirm, they're still going to have to come out for land development,
Yeah,
correct?
no.
Or no?
No.
Okay.
They just have to get a building permit because it's just a regular.
All right.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm it is a single residential home that you plan on building?
It is.
Okay, because that does, That is, there is some mixed professional use along there. I just wanna-
No, this would be a single-family dwelling.
Okay,
Yeah, there is, that's right.
yeah. There's a dentist office and a couple other things.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions? Anybody else want to come forward? Okay. All right, let me see if there's anything on here. Mr. Gantz, is there anything on here that, I noticed it's simple, you have the, under land development, I eavesdropped on your conversation with Mr. Pizzo, and you, the aerial photograph is okay, existing the subdivision of the property. The requirement to provide sidewalks along Bensalem Boulevard, so you know that you'll have to pay, Shiny Boulevard, thank you. You'll have to pay in lieu of sidewalks and curbs,
We are aware of that.
okay? And there are no curbs or sidewalks, and it's a little tight there too, so I think it's kind of dangerous to walk along there. The following additional items will address the legend. The legend on page 1 indicates iron pins to be placed at all property corners. Concrete monuments are required.
We will comply with that.
That's a will comply.
That's it.
And that's it, you have stormwater management.
I bet you it'd be a impact fee too, when they apply for permits. Excuse me, Joe?
What's that?
I said there'd be an impact fee when they apply for permits also.
Will there be an impact fee on a
There'll be an
residential?
impact fee for one trip, and there'll also be
A
a park and
recreational
rec
fee,
fee
right?
of $2,000.
Yeah, there's a recreational fee that you have to pay and an impact fee for one trip, okay?
Okay, that-
Recreational fee is $2,000 per residential property.
We understand.
And we are requiring soils testing.
Soil testing?
They'll provide that during the building permit application.
Okay. It's all required, it's public water, public sewers right there, so you'll be,
Let's call the vote, Joe. We're ready.
okay? If there's any other questions, we can make a motion to,
I'll make the motion, Mr. President, that we approve the subdivision with two waivers of the first one being the aerial photograph, the second one being the sidewalks along the Chamonix Boulevard, with the applicant agreeing to pay a fee in lieu of, and then also B1 will be a will comply for the concrete monuments, and as well as F, the 780 cubic foot stone dry well will also be a will comply, and the applicant has agreed to submit payment for both the recreational fee and the impact fee as issued by the township.
and I believe it's sidewalks and curbs, right? In lieu
No,
of
but
just sidewalks?
There's existing curb out
Curbs are
there.
out there.
Oh, the curbs are
Yeah.
out there, okay, good. Okay, so
Second
just
motion.
sidewalks. Okay, we have a first, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any against? Okay, thank you, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Monday Night Football, you go home to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, number 11, public comment. Do we have anybody that would like to come up for public comment?
My name's George Anderson. I'm at 868 Mill Road, Bensalem. I've been up here 3 times or more trying to get something done, and it seems like the problem that me and my neighbors are having are quite extent. It's the road that is behind our property, the 20-foot road. We have been trying to get rid of the traffic that is blocking up the road. And for some reason or other, we can't get the work done. The person that owns the property is parking his vehicles there in the road. I think my first time here was in September or October.
Well, didn't they resolve the, I don't want to interrupt, but I thought it got resolved in your favor about the sign out front that was blocking your way, the sign?
It's still there.
Mr. Gantz, didn't you tell us that the sign had to be adjusted? Okay,
Mr. Neron
okay.
can help us out on
Why
that.
don't you state the rest of your problems that you're still having, and then we'll have Mr. Neron address them.
It's a-
What other problems are you having still?
Excuse me?
What other problems are you having? The roads being
It's
blocked?
being blocked up. It's
And
been that
the
way.
sign hasn't been changed yet?
The sign is still there.
Okay.
For some reason or other, The man won't move the sign. He said he don't want to.
Well, it's not a matter of whether he wants to, it's whether they're going to make him do it. They're going to probably take him to court, but let Mr. Neron address what's going on down there, and then we'll at least update you about what we're doing.
I have
Sometimes
work-
when they refuse, it's hard. You just can't physically make them. You have to take them to court and such.
Yeah, I have work. I have to use the back lot, the back road, and he has it blocked off.
Yeah.
And I have two neighbors that are before me. They can't get in to do what they want to do. I'm not guaranteeing that they want to all the time, but the thing is, whenever you
But you
want
still
to,
have access to your property, right? You still have,
in back of our property,
okay, but you still get to the front of your property, right?
you can get to front, but you can't get
Okay,
to
all
the
right.
back.
I just want to make sure you weren't, because I would just call the police if you couldn't get to your property.
I mean, it seems like the man has money. It seems like he tells everybody he's rich, and he knows somebody that can help him, so I don't know what the situation is.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of knowing somebody. I think he probably thinks that he can get an attorney and fight.
Well, he thinks he owns it,
But that's okay. Well,
but he doesn't.
a lot of people think a lot of things, so.
I mean, I got a piece of paper here, it said in January, he was supposed to open the road up for some reason or other. It came from here, the township.
Okay, we're going to have Mr. Neon address your questions, okay? And
Okay.
then we'll, hey, Debbie, can you make sure you get his name again? And then we'll make sure that we update you this time. We'll do a better job of updating you what's going on. That's why I got that letter. And if you listen for a second, we're going to have Mr. Neon address your situation.
Okay, thank you.
See where we're at, okay? Mr. Neon, can you address what's going on down there? Because this was one of the situations I was actually happy about. I thought it actually got resolved in our favor.
Yeah, there's two situations. We have the situation with the sign. I'm not sure exactly, I'm going to give you a brief history real quick. The sign was permitted by the township years ago, but placed in the wrong location. The Morelli land development that we were talking about earlier today did not show that sign located on the property, which it actually is on the Morelli property.
Right.
So since that time, we've been trying to figure out where the homeowner or the business owner could put the sign, which has not been able to, nobody in it is in agreement in that area for having the sign on their property or in the vicinity of their property for maintenance purposes. Where the sign would have been permitted originally, if it was installed correctly, is now going to create a problem for the Morelli parking lot when they're pulling out onto Robinson Avenue. So we did not want that sign placed there, just to create a new problem at that location. I talked with...
What's the problem with the sign now? That's
The
blocking
sign
somebody's
right
way?
now is actually close to Mill Road, so when you're coming out of the T intersection of Robinson Avenue, you cannot see to your right because of the sign is
Okay, well,
blocking the
the guy,
vision.
he has to take it down then, right?
Right, and that's what we've been trying to get done. We have a meeting again on Tuesday of next week with him. He's out of, he leaves the country every other week, it seems like. So we're actually having a meeting scheduled for Tuesday of next week to sit down and basically say the sign must come down. They did have a hearing a week and a half ago with the district justice, and I think that time they gave another 30 days just to try to work this out and get this all taken care of.
So Tuesday.
So that's where we're at right now with the sign. The location, or the issue with the parking behind, I forget the addresses right now, but where Mr. Anderson lives and a couple of his neighbors, they back up to a paper street, which is in the middle of the Granite Company as well as the residential properties. For some reason, there's parking spaces there. We tried and researched it. We cannot find any plans on when it was done or why it was done. So a notice was sent out to get that removed as well, which we've not gotten compliance with. That's also being discussed on the 19th as well.
Then let me ask you a question. Why were we entertaining a land development extension agreement if they're not doing the things that they need to do? Why would we want to?
But it's a different person.
Morelli?
Yeah.
Different person
Not a
altogether.
different person altogether. Morelli's a neighbor.
Right. The sign from,
Okay.
the sign from Mill Road was put on a vacant lot. The Morelli land developed that lot.
Okay,
So just two separate issues.
two
there.
separate issues,
Yeah,
okay.
he's saying if they moved the sign to its original location, it would cause a problem for
I
Morelli.
understand now,
Yeah, separate issue.
I just don't want to be hearing an extension agreement.
No, it had nothing to
If
do
that
with
sign
funding.
is an issue.
Joe, I was
Actually,
thinking- I was
at one
thinking the same
point,
thing.
Mr. Morelli was in contact with the owner trying to make arrangements to relocate the sign, but from whatever reason, that did not work out between the property
Was
owners.
that part of the development that he did down there? It's
Not-
something separate?
Something totally separate, but was not shown on the plan, so I'm not sure of the exact date on when it actually
Okay, Mr.
was
Aaron.
installed, but everything we can find is there.
Can you, after Tuesday's meeting, give Debbie an update so she can update council, and then also, of course, direct the mayor's office to give him an update on where we're at so we can contact Mr.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Anderson this morning, and I told him that as soon as we found out something on that 19th, we would let him know.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So I can pass all that on.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to come up for public comment? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Okay, is there any new business, Mr. Gantz? Okay, Lauren, you okay? Mr. Pizzo? Mr. Mayor, do you have any new business or anything you would like to add? You're on.
Yeah, just for our Irish friends, happy St. Patrick's Day coming Sunday. There's a rumor, I always heard my father was telling me St. Patrick was Italian. I'm not sure of that. But anyway, just having fun. I just want to go back
was
to that.
Italian, that's
I just
okay.
want to go back
We adopted him.
to the last case that was just up here. Again, goes into the court, they give them time. I personally was involved in this one from the last time this gentleman came, got involved right away. For me, I said, take the sign down. They told we're not allowed. Sign's illegal to me. We should be allowed. Now you got to go to court. So it drags out, and this poor gentleman, he's got to go through what he's going through now. With the car in
Yeah,
the
so-
back, I also say, can we just tow cars away? Oh, you're not allowed to do that. So just letting you know that we're on top of this stuff, and it drives me crazy.
We'll see how we make out Tuesday, and if not, we'll have to go to court. That's an unfortunate situation, unfortunately.
Just take the sign down, move the car.
Yeah. I think it's all a scam for attorneys to make money, but that's another thing, I don't know. But I'm sure Mr. Pizzo doesn't agree. But is there anybody else that would like to, Mr. Sloan, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, we all received an email earlier today from Ms. Schott about a flooding problem at her residence, 2812 Ogden Avenue. I guess since the work has been going on there, her property's actually gotten
I don't want to be,
worse.
rude. Who's we all?
It looks like it was addressed to council.
I didn't get it.
I didn't get anything.
It looks like everyone but Mr. Polari was on it. You guys can, I'll pass this around.
Jesse, can I address it?
Please, that's why I wanted to ask.
I spoke to Janine
Okay.
personally today,
Okay.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
You can forward it to me, I'll read it. I didn't get it.
our
Yeah, no, please,
engineers
yeah, can
have been going back and forth. I told her I will get the engineer. We will have whatever we have to do to get together to find out what's going on out there.
Okay.
Because she sent pictures. I don't know if you got the pictures.
I
or not.
did, yeah.
Okay. Different flooding and different things that, we're very well aware of it.
Okay, so are we sending somebody out to go investigate her
Oh,
property?
we absolutely.
Okay.
Already went on that. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Well, she spelled photo wrong, so, for Mr. Kisselback.
So maybe nobody.
And for me.
Maybe nobody but me received it, I
did.
don't know.
And unfortunately, my email is Joe No Bucks, okay? It's not grammatically correct. It's not Joe Knows Bucks, which is grammatically
I
correct.
can
But I
forward
dropped
it
the
to you,
LES,
gentlemen,
it's
so-
Joe No Bucks.
Yeah.
But if you could forward it to me, I'll take a look at
Absolutely.
it.
If the
Yeah.
mayor's on it, it's.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
No, she spelled photo wrong, but that's all right. 2 O's at the end of photo.
I'm not even
Typo.
on the list.
Yeah, you aren't even on there. That's right. Well, you couldn't
That's all
spell
I had.
Polari wrong, it'd be pretty hard.
And happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody who celebrates.
Okay. Mr. Polari, do you have anything?
Yes, I'd like to welcome Bryce Harper to our.
Oh, yeah.
He got a walk today, but with
Struck
him
out.
and Reese Hoskins, I think it's gonna be an exciting year with the Phillies. Along with the other guys too, I mean, they did a good job picking up players. Deshaun, like Mr. Sloan just reminded me, Deshaun Jackson's coming back to the Eagles.
Yep.
And the Flyers are kicking butt. They're winning 3-1 again tonight, and everything's good in my eyes.
Without who's playing for the Flyers tonight, with the 2-game suspension?
Yeah, but the Players Association challenged it because they feel that he didn't do anything to cause it.
That is correct. They need him back for, I think,
They're winning the
Washington.
game without him, so we'll take that.
Okay.
And happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone.
Okay, Mr. Takmajian, do you have anything?
I just have three things. Mayor, just going back to the sign, If I remember correctly, I was reading earlier, and I can't seem to find it at this moment, but I believe the code had stated that our code officer could take the sign down if it was out of compliance.
Go across the street and tell the judge that?
Yeah, I didn't know.
No, they said they can't,
Okay.
they can't, you can't do
That's
it.
all I'm telling you, Ed,
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
They gave him 30 days to comply.
Yeah, that's fine. All
And
right.
then they take, or eventually you can.
The second thing I had was, just Mr. Pizzo and someone that maybe can give us an update on the Nottingham project with Aqua. Just hearing some grumblings about all the work that's being done, the roads all being tore up, and do we have a timeline as far as when the completion of that will be done?
Well, Mr.
Or
Huron was fine.
yeah, okay, perfect.
I talked to Aqua probably 2 weeks ago. Currently, they're in a base repair mode for all the trench work that was done. As soon as weather permits, which is 40 and rising for overlay work, that's when they're scheduled to come in and do their milling and paving.
Okay.
So they're looking at April.
April
That's what they said.
completion.
Right.
Okay, all right.
So that could change. The guy that I was talking to just got back from vacation, so he didn't know what was going on, but he got my voicemail, so he called me right away.
Right.
So he did know that they were in there doing base repair, which we've gotten some calls ourselves about that work. So that's the only reason why I
Okay,
know
great, so
that.
you're already on top of that. Great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And
You're
then
welcome.
the third point, I know I brought this up to the prior meeting, Mayor, and I know the township website has reflected Ms. Farrell as a director. Any indication as far as the resignation of his
Yes.
board?
He
'Cause
sent his resignation in.
Oh, do you have an
Yeah.
effective date on that?
Uh,
The only, my only question.
I believe, and I don't know what month it is, at his probation date, he has probation.
Here.
He could be fired.
Okay, so his resignation then would be at the end of his probation?
Yes.
Do we know what, is it 90?
It's coming up right now. Probation, 6 months.
6 months, okay.
Well,
just.
wait a sec, when we approved him, it was conditional upon his immediate resignation from the board, not about,
I don't know
and
if it said
the,
immediate.
Well, he told me two things. One, I talked to him about this
Okay.
because you guys had mentioned it and I was talking to him. And he said, one, he did have a probation period in the beginning of his office, so he wanted to make sure. And then also, he had to take responsible steps to be removed from council in his area and have somebody replace him and such. And he said that's all set up now and he's submitting it's being done.
Okay.
It's being done. So it is being done now. He didn't do it, I don't think it was a condition that he had to do it before he was hired, but he did promise that he would do it when he
He's
was
done.
hired.
He told me.
He said it's done.
If he's lying, I'll get you a copy.
Well, he told me it's gonna
If
get
he's
done.
lying, then he is done. He doesn't have to worry about probation.
Yeah, I
mentioned-
guess I just
yeah.
assumed it would be at the end of the year, it would make sense. to
Yeah,
have someone else start it.
it'll be done. It'll be, he said that their next meeting or something, they were doing it,
Thank you.
Would it really, I hate to quote Hillary Clinton, but does it really matter?
Well, it matters
Sure,
that he's
because
doing
it
it.
was contingent on him resigning.
I know, but he
The
said-
job.
And he's
Yeah.
resigned. He said he
It-
resigned.
it
He
has
said he
resigned.
resigned.
He's
He
resigning.
said it.
And that's fine.
So I'm saying, does it matter, it has to be exactly this day? No, he's doing it.
Well,
It's
no,
done.
but we approved it back in, I think
Yes,
if I remember,
yes, stop
October.
worrying,
Okay,
everyone.
okay. But he's a supervisor in another area, not around here, so I mean, it's not like it's hurting our township or something. He's resigning. Okay? He didn't want to resign if he wasn't going to get hired. Okay. He's doing a good job, and hopefully he's happy here and stays here for a while. Okay, and it was difficult to find a qualified person, actually, besides. Anything else?
No.
You okay? Okay, Mr. Kisselback, do you have anything to add?
Just March 20th is spring, and it's almost here.
20.
Huh? It's
Spring.
almost here. Couple days. It's gonna be nice and warm. Daylight saving time.
Not
Enjoy
to
that.
argue, but it's more than a couple days. It's actually a week.
Would you let the man speak? It's his turn, not
Well,
yours.
I thought people were arguing. I wanted to
Let
get
the
in.
man talk, it's his turn.
I'm fine.
You're fine?
I'm fine.
Springs is the 20th?
No. You have to look that
Is it
up. and let me
20 or
know what it
21st?
is. I don't know, Joe. You have to tell me.
Okay. I'm not sure. We'll have to look that
I
up.
am. Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Mr. President, we do need three.
3 signatures to
Yes.
stay, yeah. So 3 of us have to stay to sign the record plan. I would like to wish everybody a happy St. Patty's Day. I found out that I am 60% Irish. I thought I was 100%, but I have some Scottish and English in me somehow. according to my brother's DNA anyway. But happy St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Joseph's Day on the 19th. Is 19th of March. It's St. Joseph's Day. Happy St. Joseph's Day, Joe. And my Uncle Joe would always send me $1 on St. Joseph's Day, so I always remember.
It's like spring eve, right?
And then somewhere around the 20th or 21st, it will be the first day of spring. We could have a snowstorm at that point. So thanks for coming out, and we adjourn. Our next meeting is the 25th of March.